All right, let's continue on. We were working with setting up our inventory items. So let's go into, we had already set them up, but let's go into view and edit. There's our two inventory items, the price level and the cost. And we needed to set up the beginning balances. So we'll double click and that brings that up. And we'll go into beginning balances down at the bottom right of that box. Okay, so I bring up indoor marble waterfalls by highlighting it. I put in the quantity, there's 1. And the unit cost of those is 10,000. And so it shows the total cost. 1 times 10,000 is 10,000. We go down to the next one. We have the outdoor, and we have 1 of those, and that's 4,000, and that's a total of 4,000 cost. And we say okay. All right, now we want to set up our vendors. So we go into vendors and purchases, we go into vendors, new vendor. Okay, and there's Angel Marble Works and Granite Manufacturing. So again, we need an ID. So whatever you want to call it. And then the full name. Okay, these things in blue are the important things. So what account are we going to debit when we purchase these? It automatically knows, since this is a vendor, that this involves on account. With Sage 50, we only set up vendors for stuff that we do on account. If we don't do it on account, we just write a check for it, then we do not have to set them up as a vendor like we do in QuickBooks. Okay, so here it knows we're going to credit accounts payable if we buy something on account from Angel Marble Works. What do we want to debit? Okay, and we're going to debit the inventory account. So we're on the perpetual inventory system. Okay, there's place for addresses, history. We can put in the vendor beginning balance here. You want to say yes, I want to save this record. The invoice number. Angel Marble Works does not have a beginning balance. Okay, so we can just X out of that. Okay, so we don't need that. And the purchase info is where we're going to put our credit terms, and both of the vendors are 210 net 30, and so the default is that the net is due in 30 days with no discount. So we want to have a discount, and so customize terms, and we're going to say use discounts, and the discount is in 10 days, and the percent is 2. Okay, and the net is due in 30 days. Okay, and so we're good to go here. So we're going to say save and new. I'll put in the other vendor, which is Granite Manufacturing. Okay, under the General tab, there, when we buy something from them, we're also going to debit inventory. Okay. Now they do have a vendor beginning balance. $10,000, invoice number 2345, and that was as of March 15th of 2021. No, you can leave the purchase order blank, and the amount is $10,000. And they want to know which accounts payable account you want for us to use, and we only have one, so that makes it easy for us. And then we say save and close. Okay, we go to the purchase info, and we want to customize the terms, use the discounts, 10 days and 2%. Okay, and save and close. Okay, now we need to set up our two customers. We go to customers and sales, go to new customer. Okay, and we have Grace Enterprises and Cornell Inc. Okay, this is in blue here, the customer type, but you don't need that. We haven't set up any type, so we're okay there. Okay. Okay, customer beginning balance is on the history tab, just like with the vendors. And Grace owes us $4,000. So yes, we'll save. All right, it says before we put that beginning balance in, we need to go into the sales tab and put in our accounts. So this wants to know what sales account, when we sell something to Grace, what sales account? Well, we only got one, so that's pretty easy. Okay, and the pricing level is by default price level 1. Of course, we only have one price level, so that's easy for us as well. Now I can go payment and credit. I don't think we have. Okay, the default is net 30, and so that's what we have here, the default, so we'll leave that on there. But we don't need any of the rest of this. We'll go back to history and customer beginning balance. Okay, the invoice number is 5678, and the date is March 20th. We don't need the purchase order, and the amount is $4,000. And the accounts receivable account that this is part of, we only have one, so we just choose it, and then we say save and close. Okay, and so now we're done with Grace Enterprises. We click on save and new. We're going to put in the next one, which is Cornell Inc. Okay, we don't need anything there or there. We'll come back to history. We go to sales and say, you know, what account are we going to, when we sell this? Sales. Okay, and it's price level 1, so that's good. And we'll use the default term, so that's good. So we go back to history. And in this case, they don't owe us anything, so there is no customer beginning balance. So we can say save and then close. Okay, we can go ahead and use view and edit customers and see what of these customers owe us and make sure that everything is right. Okay, now we can actually do the transactions. So on April 2nd, Milton, okay, so we need to up here in the right-hand corner, notice that there's a period bar here. And we want that period to be April. So we're going to click on it and then move it to April and then say OK. Okay, so our first one is that Milton Grand Prix invests $50,000 in the business, and we need a general journal entry. And so there's a shortcut down on the left, general journal entry. The date is April the 1st, and that's good. And we can go into GL account. We're going to debit the checking account. And owner invested in business. And that was $50,000. Okay, our next row is our credit. I'm going to credit MG Capital, and that's 50. Okay, you want to make sure that your total debits equal your total credits, and it says out of balance 0. That's what you want it to say, and you can go ahead and say save and close. Our next transaction, we paid $1,000 for rent. Okay, now again, unlike QuickBooks, we're not going to set up a vendor for Mr. Landlord. We're going to just go into write checks, new check. Okay, we can just leave the vendor ID blank and go down here where it says pay to the order of under the name, and that's Mr. Landlord. Okay, it is check number 1001. The date is April the 2nd. And the amount is about 1,000. Okay. And this is April rent. The expense account we're going to use would be rent expense. It already knows to credit cash, the checking account, and that shows you over here on the right. And if the proper account is not shown to you, then you can go ahead and change it if you wanted this to come out of the savings account or something. However, we don't have a savings account. Okay, so everything is good. Now, here you can also hit this button. It says Journal. And it'll show you that it's going to debit rent expense and credit the checking account for the 1,000. So you can always check and see behind the scenes what is the journal entry going to look like. Okay, and so we're good with that. And so we say save, close. Okay. And the next one, we purchased 2 indoor marble waterfalls. So that's going to go into our vendor section, only we're going to enter bills, okay? We're not worried about purchase orders in this case, so we say new bill, okay? What vendor is it? And of course, we have to have a vendor since we're doing something on account. Okay, so this is Angel Marble Works, and the invoice date is the 10th. So they automatically calculate the due date. We have to put in the invoice number, and that's 245. The terms that our default terms, 210 net 30, are showing here, but we could override those if we want to. And it's showing what accounts payable account they're going to use. Okay, the quantity is 2. The item is the indoor waterfalls. Okay, so that brings it all up. It shows us what account and the unit price, and 2 times 10,000 is 20,000, and there's no tax here. So everything is good. Again, we can look at the journal. We can see it's going to debit inventory and credit accounts payable for the 20,000. Okay, so everything is good, and we say save and close.